So for just to give you an example of what my usual day is, Steve actually has I'm not going to say Steve's strict coach, but he's very good at like trying to instill a routine in our lives. So each week Steve shoots us out a weekly email with our training rough schedule just for everybody in our team gets it, and it just says roughly usually where we're going to be. So it might be like Monday is usually our easier day in Team New Balance Manchester, and that's the only day in the week where we're allowed to kind of go upon our own routine. So Monday's my lie-in day. I love a lie-in. Every other day in the week we all run at 9. Every single person in our team, whether they're with the team or not, usually we run at 9. And obviously there's an exception if somebody's working or there's something happening, but typically in the team, yep, Vastenberg is up the earliest. She likes to do some uni work before she gets ready in the morning. So I'll come downstairs and Yip's already sitting studying. I usually wake up an hour before my morning run, sometimes a little bit earlier if I'm feeling particularly rough. Sometimes in a really tough training block, I might need a little bit longer to warm up before the morning run. But typically I wake up at 8, just have a small breakfast, some tea and usually a bar, and then all of us chill in the front room and start mobilizing and stretching first thing in the morning. So first thing in the morning we'll do like 20 minutes of just easy foam rolling. Like we're sitting watching TV while we do it. It's not like something crazy. I feel like people are probably like, this is a really strict regime. We're all sitting chatting and we're having fun. Like this is just our normal lives. We go out the door at 9, we do our morning run. We come back in, everybody has breakfast. For some that's their second breakfast. For me it's kind of my first because I only had a bar. We all sit, we chill together, we have some breakfast, and then the rest of the day is everybody else's. So we all make our own timetable for the rest of the day then, bar our evening run. And typically we would do an evening run at 5 o'clock. It's usually earlier in the winter just because of the daylight. But right now, because it's nice and bright, we can get out for an evening run at 5. And obviously things are changing slightly with the whole COVID stuff, but that's typically what we do. And in the space in between that, we try to fit in whatever we need to fit in. Yep and Anna are studying, so they're often studying a lot. Me and Adam are usually napping. So like I'll go up and have a nap either after breakfast or after lunch. Typically try not to nap after 3 or 4 in the afternoon because then that'll mess up my evening sleep. But yeah, typically we just do whatever we feel like between breakfast and evening run. But we all make a plan together to run for our evening run, which I think is really good. It gives you a bit of something to get you out the door, because even for me, there's days I really can't be bothered with that evening run, and having 2 other people to run with in my house, and it's usually more, is absolutely brilliant. So obviously it's not the same for everybody, but I find that really helpful. Then come in after the evening run, get something in that 20-minute window, have a shower, have a bath, and then we all have dinner together at 7 o'clock, and then we chill for the whole evening. And that's our usual daytime routine. And obviously it changes if we have training sessions. But for me, that routine is really important. And don't get me wrong, some mornings I really don't want to wake up for my run at 9 o'clock, but I make sure I do, because nobody else is going to pay the price bar me. If I literally wake up and go out the door, I'll be in agony. I find that having that routine really helps me with my sleep pattern as well, knowing that I have to wake up at 9. I make sure I get to bed at a decent hour. So everybody in our house, we usually after dinner sit and watch a movie together, or TV, or whatever the crack might be. And we all head up to bed at 10. And that's like just the standard bedtime in this house for like children. And we all brush our teeth together and then we go to bed. And like some of us go straight to bed. I'd say Jonas, whenever he was living here, would go to bed at like 8 or 9. And we are always like, off he goes, there goes Jonas. So we all go up at 10, and Jonas is usually like, shh, because we're too rowdy. But I'll talk to maybe my boyfriend then before I go to bed, because he lives in Dublin. And I might talk to Boris because he's all the way in LA. Like I can hear Adam closing drawers in his bedroom. I don't know what he gets up to, but like that, there's just typical the way we are, and we always try to make sure that we're getting to sleep fairly close to 10, depending on what you're feeling like. But as everybody says, those hours before midnight are vital. you get, like, I think for every hour before midnight it counts as 2. That's what we're told, but I certainly know whenever I get to sleep a little bit earlier that it's great. But yeah, I think what Matt wanted me to emphasize was just that routine. My life is just built around routine, and that's probably been instilled an awful lot since joining this team with Steve. I found that it's given my days structure, and I feel a lot better. I chatted to Kate Kirby today just about how my mental state is right now going around COVID-19. And I even spoke to her about the times that I'm not running. So running is just part of my everyday structure, and it just stays solid. So now for me, the stress is those hours in between where I feel unfulfilled. I'm like, done nothing today, but I might have done 2 runs in a gym session, but that feels like nothing for me now because that's my baseline and it never changes. So for everybody, obviously I'm a full-time athlete and I'm not lucky in that sense. This is a perfect opportunity for all you guys. This is what elite athlete life is like. This is what it's like to be a full-time athlete and have nothing else in your life that dictates where you go. So make the most of it. It's something that I would have jumped on if I was in a position that I'm not in now. And it's a little taster that it's actually not that easy whenever all your day is just for running.
If there's anything else about Ciara, it's rock and roll. It's rock and roll in your life.
Brilliant. I am mental. I had a can of Coke last week.
And you've done something fulfilling today. Hopefully, you've inspired 20 athletes there with your rendition of your day. So that's something
to give Ciara credit. Oh, sorry. To give Ciara credit during this time, you've got to remember that also Ciara's an ambassador for New Balance, and also, you know, the stuff that she'll do for Northern Ireland Athletics and Athletics Ireland. And you know, I've been really proud of a number of my athletes that have gone out of their way during this difficult time to help others, and I think that's very rewarding. And one of the things that Ciara and I have been talking about, because it's been, you know, really disappointing with the Olympics going, now the Europeans going and stuff, but Ciara has done other things outside of her training, so she's doing herself an injustice there. She has done a lot which has helped other people and helped New Balance during a difficult time in terms of sharing her workouts, sharing you know, motivating sort of pieces, and being active on a social media, which as a New Balance athlete is also part of being an ambassador, sponsored athlete. It's not just about running fast. So I'm going to say well done, Ciara. You've done all right.
Thanks very much, Ciara. That was good. And is that the same routine on the workout day, or does it change?
Yeah, my routine is pretty much the same every single day. It depends. So workout days just might be slightly different timing wise. Sometimes during the summer, Steve has like a load of us on the track at once, and it's a bit hard whenever you've got a group of fellas and a group of girls. Quite often us girls can train well together, but he had marathon girls over the summer and me, and clearly those sessions don't always come in well. So Yip and Ellie might have been doing a training session at the track at 9, and I would have been doing a training session at the track at 10. So if that's the case, I tend to try to have similar timings with regards to training, because I find that really works for me. So having a bar in the hour leading up to training, I go training and then I have food after. One thing that can prove difficult is fueling if your times have slightly changed. So in those days, I might end up having a brunch and then a smaller lunch later, because I still need to make sure I get in those 3 core meals. But if your training session finishes at 12:30, like, you're not really having breakfast, are you? You're on to lunch. So it's important to think of that calorie intake and making sure that you're getting sufficient energy intake, because the thing for me is that I'll never be on the side where I'm eating too much, pretty much, as an athlete. And maybe that some people might think that's a lucky thing, but it's very hard to make sure that you've actually got enough energy going in whenever you're training this hard. And so any time that I've underperformed in the past was ultimately due to underfueling, pretty much. And 2017 was nearly a write-off because of my own problems with eating. So that's something to think about. You have to really think about the timing off your food before and after training. And yeah, usually on a session day, it's, if my session starts at 10, I tend to wake up at a similar time each morning anyway. And I think for everybody, you have to just figure out what works for you. I typically set my alarm for 8:15, but I've started waking up at 7:30 in the morning just naturally. And I just say to myself, right, I'll just lie here for a wee minute. If I don't fall back over until my alarm, I just get up, because it's kind of nice, your body waking naturally, you just get up and you feel much fresher, whereas that extra 20 minutes ends up making you feel like absolute rubbish. So yeah, session days are pretty similar. We have sessions usually in the morning and then an evening run, and that's pretty much my routine. My routine doesn't change, and it's the same when it comes to racing. I have everything down to a T, so much so that myself and Steve sit down, and I'll send Steve a list of my timetable a day before, or sometimes 2 days before. It depends how stressed I might feel, if he thinks I need to be put at ease. And if anybody's been at a championship, they might see me doing that. I write down everything from the moment I wake up, what food I'll eat, when I'll eat it, when I'll take a gel, everything right up to the moment I race. And then also at the end, I'll say what I need post-race immediately to make sure that I'm feeling, maybe I have another round to go to. I know you didn't ask me to talk about racing, but while I'm here, I might as well. So it's something that I find is so helpful, because it's an example of how routine can really put your mind at ease. And that's like a carbon copy for every single race I do. So myself and Steve will maybe have a couple of races before the proper season starts, say, and we'll find something that we're like, wow, you ran really well in Ortigan. What was the routine that day? And I'll document it down. And I nearly copy that for every race after. Like, I have a diary sitting on my like bench here that is just every race that I've done, and it's the timetable. And sometimes if I'm like, oh sugar, what time should I warm up at? Like, you would think I should know that. I just go back to the previous race. What did I do at that race? Brilliant. Carbon copy it down. And that just that structure in your day is so reassuring. As an athlete, you know exactly what to do. And if something pops up that you're not sure of, you just look at your little list and you're like, okay, I know I have to be in the call room at X. So irregardless of what anybody else is doing, I need to be in the call room at this time. And it transfers into everyday life. I know I have to be at the Middlewood Way for 10 o'clock. That means I have to leave my house at quarter to 10. And if something happens, I need to ring my coach and tell him I'm not going to be on time, which rarely happens because we try to be early for Steve, because he's kind enough to have given us all his time to train. The least I can do is have the respect to show up on time.
Very good. And one question you kind of that came in on the chat there to me, I'm not sure if you kind of touched on it there, was what did you mean by that 20-minute window after you run?
Yeah, so like the glycemic window is something that we chat about as in our team. So you have this like 20-minute glycemic window. I don't have the scientific evidence to back this up, and anybody out there who has it can shoot it in if they're really strict on that. But it's a very good just little tool as an athlete, just to make sure that you're refueling after that. 20 minutes after hard training, and Steve will be better to talk about this than me, that you get carbohydrates in particular. So for me, that was something that I started to try to really focus on over this past while. I have an energy drink that I know if I can't eat, I'm not very good at eating straight after exercise. Like, just don't fancy it, and it's hard for me to get it down. I make sure I make this little drink and I drink that. It's just really sugary energy drink that has all of the carbs that I need immediately after training. And then I don't need to worry too much. I can have breakfast within the hour then, and I know that I'm fine. If you're doing some gym work, it's also important to get protein in, but protein is less vital in that window. You have a longer window for protein. Steve will probably be able to throw that number up better than me. But yeah, that glycemic window is really important. If you're finishing training and then you're driving 30 minutes home and not eating until then you're doing yourself a huge injustice, because you've just worked your body so well to not even give it the fuel that it needs for that basic recovery. And it's something so simple, even as to have like a couple of jellies in the car to start that, have that drink, have like some sort of a shake. Like, sometimes I come in straight from a run and I'll just make a wee smoothie, and that's something quick. If I feel I need a particularly long shower because I'm beat up, I'll have that food. I can have my shower then, and then it gives me a wee minute to get hungry again.
Very good. I was going to jump in there on Ciara. One of the things I put across to all my athletes is, if you don't recover, you don't adapt. So you can train as hard as you want, but if you don't optimize your recovery, then you're not going to adapt to that training load. And that is absolutely key. And Ciara's just mentioned 2017. And Ciara did you come to me at the end of 2017, Ciara? I can't remember now. Yeah, end of 2017. And she talked about that. And one of the things that has allowed her and enabled her to become so consistent now and perform well every time she laces up her spikes is because she's proactive rather than reactive. So she writes notes and she plans and she gets everything right, but also proactive in terms of her recovery. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with, it's something simple. Ciara's somebody that can't eat a full meal immediately after training because she just doesn't feel like it. And for those 1500, 800 meter runners out there that generate a lot of lactate, you know what that feels like when you feel sick after a real hard training session. But she's very proactive, so she gets those calories in. The 20-minute glycemic window is just an optimum time where you can start to uptake glycogen into the muscles, so you can start that recovery process. But also it's very important for immune function. So when you've done a hard training session, you've suppressed your immune system, and actually immediately after, you're more susceptible to picking up bugs, illnesses, and things like that. So one of the things that's going to help that is that taking on some carbohydrates. And like Ciara said, the protein, we still make sure that there's some of that in there, but 20 minutes to get something inside you, and then within 2 hours a proper meal, because then you start replacing the calories that you've used for that training session. So yeah, I think to sum it up is, if you don't recover, you don't adapt. And recovery, we recover as hard as we train. I know that sounds crazy, but Ciara's already talked about it. She's got a good routine, she sleeps well, she naps in the afternoon. And I know everyone here hasn't got the luxury of being a full-time athlete, but I'm sure everyone wants to have the luxury. And hopefully some of you guys will be there in the future. But you can plan your day. And like Ciara said, some of her teammates who are international level athletes have part-time jobs or work, but they make sure that they prioritize the training and they have a plan for each day so that they can optimize that time when they study, when they work, and when they train. And I think, you know, it's key that Ciara has a routine, but the body loves routine. It's, once you get into that routine, the body absolutely loves it. And yeah, you've got to race abroad and other things, but you try and keep your routine as best possible. And, you know, we had a routine, didn't we, Ciara? I mean, it was just Ciara and myself out in Doha, and she had a good routine that worked well and allowed her to perform. And there's not, you know, and also we knew that European indoors, where she got the bronze medal last year, and also Doha, where she made the final and ran a PB, that was all to do with the planning we'd done weeks in advance to say, how do we recover better than anyone else and quicker? Because not only did Ciara have to go out there and run well, of course she did, but to make a final, you've also got to recover well, because there's no point in going out in that heat, and she had to run hard in that heat, but there was no point in saying, yeah, brilliant, I'm through to the semis, because already that window of recovery, did you have a day? I think you did, Ciara, didn't you? One day between the heat and the semi, and then the next day for the final. So, you know, and it's amazing. The best athletes in the world have all got their strategies, and, you know, to making sure that they get through to that final. And yes, they're brilliant runners, of course they are, but they're also the best at recovering too.
Yeah, I guess. And is there any reason why you time things as you do through the day, or like see the guys running by certain times in the day and go?
Well, the main reason is, I think it's good for you to be up and out and have more recovery time between first session and second session. You've got to think with someone like Ciara on a big day for her. You know, Ciara's now running a lot more miles than she's ever done. You know, she's averaging around the 70 to 75 in the winter months, and that's often with some weeks as a rest day in there. But a busy day for Ciara might be a Wednesday, and bearing in mind she'll have done a hard session the day before and a recovery run. She'll have a run in the morning, a weight session, and a second run. Now, if she wakes up at 11 and tries to get in her first run at half 11, 12, and then comes back and already she's losing the time to eat, so she has something to eat, and then she goes out and a couple of hours later she's trying to fit her weights in, and then she's trying to chase another meal, a lunch at 3 o'clock, and then suddenly there's a second run got to come in, and then another meal, and she's trying to cover all this in 7 hours, when actually the first run at 9 and the second run at 5 gives a lot more time to recover and a lot more time to do things optimally. And, you know, like I said, it all fits into that recovery. You've got to allow recovery between sessions to and also to replenish your glycogen stores so that you've got the energy to do a good weight session and to do a good quality second run, etc. So it all adds up, and it's, you know, you cannot be the best at this game if you're not recovering well, and everything we do is planned around. Yeah, we don't run at 7 in the morning, but the reason we don't run at 7 in the morning is to make sure that Ciara aiming for 9 hours sleep, and that doesn't mean 9 hours in bed. She aims for 9 hours sleep. So that might mean for someone like some athletes, lights go out, they're gone, 9 hours, wake up. Ciara admits she's not the best sleeper in the world. So to her to get 9 hours sleep, she might need to be in bed for 10, 10 and a half. So that 10, going up to bed at 10, speaking to a boyfriend, you know, lights out, I don't know, half 10, 11, half 10, 11, she needs to, you know, have the lights out then, because to get that 9 hours sleep. And I think I'm pretty right, Ciara, that's what you aim for still, isn't it? And for 9 hours.
Yeah, definitely. And I struggle a little bit with sleep. Like, I wake up an awful lot in the night to go to the toilet and just wake up. And that's just something that I've come to terms with, that's kind of how I am. So particularly the days that I know that I'm feeling tired, or like there's big weeks coming up, I try to also supplement my night sleep with some naps during the day. Because I do find that tough to fall asleep at night, and sometimes I might be a wee bit have had some poor night sleeps in a couple of days in a row. So I try to get a couple of naps in during the week. I went through a phase of napping absolutely every day. Some days I can't get to sleep. Some days the nap just doesn't want to take me. But I try to have that structure, and I give myself that opportunity every single day. And if I can't nap, I make sure I'm resting. So I'm on my bed and I'm chilling. I'm listening to music or a podcast if I can't fall over to sleep. But yeah, I try to make sure that I get 9 to 10 hours sleep every day. Sometimes I don't have it. I don't get it. Like, I'll be the first to admit that there's so many areas I can improve on too. Like, it's tough. I feel like it's hard because your coach will want me to come on and try to be this perfect role model, and I think sometimes it's easier to admit to you is that we all fall short, and there's times that my coach needs to give me a rap across the.
And don't worry, I do.
Yeah, and tell me whenever I'm falling short of the expectations he has for me and that I have for myself, and it's something that we all are aware of, and we know ourselves when we're falling short of what we want to achieve and what we want to do. And like, I'm finding it hard at the moment with the whole COVID thing, and feeling a little bit lost each day, because my life hasn't changed hugely. I think it's just that pressure of having to feel like you have to be really happy all the time, and that everybody's blooming doing something on something, and I'm like, oh God, how do I keep my social media really positive if I'm feeling like absolute rubbish? But it's important to know that other people are feeling that way too, and all you can do is your best. So I try my best to get my 9-10 hours sleep, to make sure that I'm eating and recovering the way I should be. And for me, training is the easy part. I get out the door and I stick to that routine that's written down. It's all the little parts in between that are going to make me a world-class athlete, because training is what my coach puts on my training schedule, and it never changes. And there's never a time that I don't do what Steve says. If he says jump, I jump. If I can't jump, then there's something wrong and I need to chat to him about it, and then we discuss it. But training's my bare minimum. Everything in between, as Steve said, is the important part.
I was going to add, during this time it is difficult, and Ciara and I had a chat the other day after the Europeans got cancelled, and I said, listen, I know your motivation is going to be up and down, because we're just getting, you know, you start getting your hopes up for something, and you hear on social media, oh, this race might be going ahead, and then they get pushed back, and it's the same for everyone. But I said to Ciara, listen, motivation is going to go up and down. I get it. You know, it's the same for coaches too. You know, I've had bad days where I'm thinking, you know, how do I keep my athletes inspired? So I say, listen, all I want is commitment. As long as you're committed, it doesn't matter if one day you don't really feel like going out for a run or doing your training, that you get it done. And trust me, there's nothing worse than procrastinating, thinking about going out for your run. Ciara doesn't have to think, because she knows it's at 9 o'clock. So the days where she might not want to go for a run, she's got her teammates and she's got me, you know, where if she just lies in bed till 11, and I'll say, well, why? Now, there's no excuse. And I think you guys just need to remind yourselves that your motivation, some mornings you will wake up and you will think, oh, I'll just stay in bed a bit longer, or I'll mess around on my phone for another couple of hours. But get out, get it done, because trust me, you'll feel better. And then you get to have a nice breakfast and your run's done. You're not procrastinating and worrying about it all day. And then if you have got a second run, or you have got a second training session, you've recovered and you're ready to go again. But it's tough. It's really tough. And we normally have a big group of, it's a good laugh and we meet up, and I can't, in England right now, I can't see Ciara train. So, I can't see any of them train. We're not allowed to, and that's difficult as well. And so it's a really, really challenging time for everyone. Nobody wrote the rules for this. Nobody wrote the rules for how coaches and athletes get on during a pandemic. So we're all doing our best job. And thank God for Zoom, eh?
Yeah. And one of the questions I'm going to ask, Ciara, you almost touched on it there, is how would you manage your social media time within the day? And do you get consumed with what other people are doing on social media?
Yeah, so social media is definitely, we were having a laugh in the house and handed our phones over, and we're like, how long do you spend on each on our devices? Yep, spends very little time on her device because she's studying all day. I'm not studying, so I probably spend more time on my device than her. But my huge amount of my device time is on WhatsApp, because I talk to my family all day, every day, and talk to my boyfriend. And that's really hard part for me as well. Like, I'm living in Manchester and I'm not near my friends and family, and I'm a very family orientated person, so I find that very tough. So for me, whenever I chat to Steve, like, Steve sometimes is like, okay, if anybody's spending, he'll rap certain members of our team more for being on social media a little bit more. He knows that I'm not as concerned with Instagram and stuff. I have an obligation to do it, and it's something that I have to do for my own profile as an athlete, and also because sponsors pay me money to be a little bit more present on these devices and not like the apps. So I have to try to schedule it that I'll actually post things, because I'm not great at it. But one thing I did a while back was I unfollowed all the girls I race, because I didn't need to see whenever they had a kill performance or killed a training session. Snooking of mine what Shelby Houlihan's doing from one end of the year to the other. The only time I'm concerned is when I toe the line against her. And so many other, there's a few that I might follow, girls that I know personally, and I feel I'm like, oh, she's lovely. Like, I follow a couple of Australian girls who I like just because they're lovely girls, and I chat to them regularly, and these apps are quite a handy way to do it. But other competitors, I do not follow them. I'm tempted to see what they're doing. I don't give a damn. I can't control what they do. I just control what I do. So I take that temptation away. I spend my time looking at cat memes and random stuff like that. So if I need distracted, I flick through things like that and listening to some podcasts and reading about nature. But yeah, it's something that I have to do too. I have to manage, and I have to make sure, and there's times that I've checked myself and went on the little part that tells you how long you're on it, and I'm like, right, you need to cop on, because you've just spent hours and hours on that, and you could have done something useful in your day, like learning the guitar that's been sitting in my room for 2 years, or I tried to learn Irish for a while, and then Duolingo cancelled me out because it was so rubbish.
Well, like Ciara said, just to, there's certain athletes, if spending all day on social media isn't doing you any good, it doesn't make you feel better, it makes you feel anxious, it makes you feel worried. Never once, as Ciara said to me, should we do this training session because somebody else has done it. She doesn't know. She just trusts in what I'm giving her and gets on. And that's half the battle. If you just get on with it and work hard, 9 times out of 10, if you haven't got those doubts in your mind and you're just turning up and doing the work, then you're going to run well off it. And I think that's to credit to Ciara, that she doesn't need to know what her rivals are doing. As long as she's improving and getting better, which she is, then she knows she's doing the right work. And I think it's a trap when you've got this time on your hand. You tend to just look at what everyone else is doing, but you've got to ask yourself the question: is it making you feel better, and is it making you feel become a better runner? And if it's not, then why are you doing it? We sometimes become addicted to it, and so there's certain athletes that enjoy it and get a lot out of it, but there's other athletes that will sometimes just mute their social media coming into races or championships. So it's tough. It's a tough thing, social media, because when I was younger, and Matt will know this, we didn't have it, did we, mate? We're old, and so I didn't know. I had to wait for Athletics Weekly each week to know what everyone else was doing and the results. So you know, it's a bit different, but that's showing my age. But, you know, I didn't know what people were up to, and I just turned up at the track, did my coach's training, worked hard, had a good time, and then went out and raced. And, you know, so it's a lot more challenging for you younger athletes nowadays, because there's so many apps and Strava and everything else. But, you know, it's just going out there, and I know it's an old cliche, but going out there and being honest with yourself and saying, have I done my best? And have I done my best in terms of training? Have I done my best in terms of recovery? Have I done my best in terms of everything that I need to do to be the best I can be? And if the answer is yes, then well done. If the answer is no, then you need to get better. And even Ciara's just admitted she's, you know, over the last 2.5 years, she's improved in so many aspects, but she can improve even more. And she knows now, you know, she's made a world final, but she also came off that track, even running a PB, and was pleased because she knew that was her best on the day. She also said to me, I'm just so eager now to work harder and do everything right, because I want the next step now, and I want to be there. So, you know, we're working hard, and we all slip. Nobody's perfect. Like I say to Ciara, don't expect perfection. I just expect commitment, day in, day out, week in, week out. And once you get that consistency under your belt, you really do start to optimize, yourself and be the best athlete you can be. And that's what it's about. But, you know, to sum up what Matt was asking us, I think it's key to being proactive, having plans and sticking to those plans and routine, because the body does love it. And once you get into a good routine, you feel good most of the time. If you're going to bed late one night and going to bed earlier because you're shattered, and then your sleep routine, you feel lethargic in the day, and you just get into this cycle of just never feeling that great, when really if your body knows what's coming, even if you feel tired in the morning, it's used to getting up and going for a run. And I think that's a really important part of routine. And the best athletes in the world, 99.9% of them have a routine. Trust me. They might not say it on social media. I've seen so much out there that they like to, some of these athletes like to pretend they're all laid back and chill, but trust me, you don't stand on top of a podium at a European or World Championship without being really working really hard and being strict with yourself in terms of what you need to do. So there is a lot of sacrifice and commitment there, but that's what's required. And you know, for you guys during this time, there is no excuses. There's no college, there's no school, a lot of people aren't at work. So this is a really good time to get into a good, healthy routine and make the most of it.
The social media, and like I'm pretty relaxed with it, in the sense that I'm not really somebody too concerned about what other athletes are doing, but other athletes in our group certainly are. And some of us have felt a little bit stressed at the minute, just not because of what other athletes are doing. We're not too concerned. But like, Yip follows Strava, and she'll know what somebody's done, and she'll see things on Strava that I don't know. I don't even have a Strava. I think I put it up once because my friend wanted to tag me in it to show off that she ran with me. Like, I'm not like that. But I know that Adam just got rid of a whole load of his social medias because it was stressing him out just with the whole COVID thing. Like, I stopped watching the BBC News because they were just driving me insane and just making me stressed each morning before I went for my run. So like, find what works for you is my main message. And as well, like, another thing, maybe you guys aren't as unfortunate as me, but like, you can have some real negative people on social media, and I've got a lot of negative messages in the past that have come from performances and people just wanting to have a dig, and it really drags you down, because from the 1,000 positive messages you get one negative one, and it just ruins your entire day, and it just makes you remember that you never remember the good things. So it's important to chat to people about stuff like that, and never be afraid to block. And yeah, so find what works for you, and like, it might be as simple as you're like, yeah, I really like to have this and this. Like, I know for a while Steve chatted to me about oh, you should really, like, don't look at this and don't look at this, and I was like, oh Steve, you've no clue. I'm on my phone looking like at pictures on Imgur. That's what I spend my time doing. Like, it's not stressful at all. It's like a random goat jumping off a bale and stuff like that. And like, that's sometimes what I do just to distract myself from the stresses, particularly around racing. And I might be sitting doing that in the call room. Well, not the call room, but like the little room waiting to go in and start warming up. So find the balance that works for you, but be honest with yourself, and don't listen to the haters.